Let's talk about the St. Louis Blues right in your backyard against the Minnesota Wild. The Blues blanked the Wild in game one of 3 blowouts on the slate. The Blues, the Hurricanes, as well as the Leafs outscoring their opponents by a 14-1 margin. David Perron collects the hat trick. And it was really the Ville Hu show in net with his start, first playoff start of his career, if I'm not mistaken. And he's solid against the Wild, who really did a great, the Blues did a great job frustrating Kirill Kaprizov really throughout the neutral zone. What's your level of concern for the Wild as they also lose on home ice to kick off their series?
Well, it's there because I didn't like the mental approach to the game from the Minnesota Wild, and I question where the leadership was leading into it and throughout. I mean, we've just seen now a fine handed down to Jared Spurgeon for cross-checking Pavel Buchnevich of the St. Louis Blues, and a pretty dirty play, man. And I
You're
had
lucky.
Spurgeon on my lady, like he's a Lady Bing pick. You know what I mean? So I didn't like that at the end of the game. And even from the start, Jordan Greenway takes 2 unnecessary penalties during the game. Tyson Jost takes a retaliatory slashing penalty. Like, if you're Minnesota, where is your head at? You're playing against the St. Louis Blues, who have a top 3 power play in the NHL. And if you're the Wild, your kill's terrible. Their penalty kill has been
Mm-hmm.
awful. They gave this game away. Yes, Husso was outstanding. I don't think Marc-Andre Fleury was his best, but 4-0 is not a close game. Despite the fact that 5-on-5 especially, Minnesota had this. And I think that it was just strictly from the start of it. Minnesota's head was in the wrong place. They're trying to bully the Blues around, and they went overboard with it. And with the exception of Justin Falk pushing back a little bit at the wrong time, I thought St. Louis handled that pressure better, Frank. And this is what you see. Husso was phenomenal, but what a game from Perron. What a game from the power play on St. Louis. Minnesota gave them those opportunities.
Yeah, there were a ton of minor penalties called in that game, 18 minor penalties. We'll talk more about the officiating in the Stanley Cup playoffs with Scott Burnside coming up quickly in the All 32. But Mike, how do the Wild get back into this aside from playing a little bit more conservatively in terms of not going to the penalty box? How do they get Kirill Kaprizov going? Like I mentioned, you saw the frustration from Spurgeon. You could sense a little bit of the frustration from Kaprizov, who really has the puck on his stick quite often throughout games.
Well, they're going to have to do the best to make sure they get the matchups they want. I mean, last night I thought O'Reilly's line on St. Louis was going against Kaprizov so often that he was able to stifle them, and he wasn't able to break through. So, Kaprizov especially can be a driver when he gets some time on the power play, and St. Louis did a pretty good job of shutting that down. So, I think it's going to come down to matchups, and I think that bottom line, man, your best players have to outwork the other team. And Kaprizov's going to have to outwork Ryan O'Reilly, Brandon Saad, David Perron, that line that he saw so often. And that's not an easy task.